THEO.
Hello, my name is Ryan Vahey. I am the After Sales Product Manager.
I'm Chris Manzosiak. I'm the Logistics Manager here at THEO.
So we are here in Westboro, Massachusetts at THEO Laser headquarters. Today we will be unboxing the THEO Laser MA1 to help set up the THEO Laser Academy here. And we will be going through and showing you everything on how to unbox, set up, and be prepared for operation. All right, let's get into it. We'll put the wire feeder away for now. We'll start with the MA1. Hide a piece of cardboard.
The first thing you'll see on top is your packing list that has everything within this box written right on top. Here, one of the first things you'll see is immediately your 3 pairs of safety laser glasses. You have some earplugs just for safety, for if it's a loud facility. Also some dust masks because usually it's welding environment. So
then you have your consumables box here. It comes with some nozzles, some wire feeding contact tips, as well as the adapter to adapt the wire feeding conduit to the welding head.
And as well as some replacement protection windows for your actual laser torch.
All right, now we can begin removing this foam insert. The MA1 on top of the table. And here we have a proper L630P plug to wire the power cord into. You will just need a, whatever is required of the specific plug. We need a Phillips head screwdriver to loosen it up and get the wires in there. All right, so we got that wired in. Now we are okay to plug it into a specific 200 to 240 volt single phase outlet. So now we have the key. It is actually located underneath the earplug section inside the foam insert. So you input the key, turn the key on, as well as the power switch on the back panel. Now the next thing that will be required is proper gas flow into the system. The first thing you see when you power on the system is a few safety notices. You will have to read the safety notices, continuing to hit next to get to the next one. Once you reach the last screen, you will need to click the box on the bottom left, notifying that you have read and acknowledged all of the safety notices. The next thing, it will let you know that either your license is expired. If that is what is being presented, you will need to contact your distributor to obtain your login code as well as your authorization code. Before you can begin operation, you will need to input your authorization code. To do that, you just have to navigate to the system information page, click the authorization code box, and input your authorization code. The beeping that you do here is due to the gas. To check various warnings and whatnot, you can go to the expert mode page and click the warning tab. So now we can get the gas set up. We'll turn off the system for now. So we have our regulators here. We're going to be operating with 2. One is going to be connected to a nitrogen tank and the other will be connected to an argon tank. The reason being, argon is better used for aluminum and aluminum alloys, while the nitrogen is better used on most forms of steel. We have a T-joint here, and we will be connecting the T end to the unit for easy access of switching between gases. And so currently we have an argon tank here, so I will hook up the argon regulator. All right, that is in there. So we got our gas. We can power on the system. Now on the front of the machine, as you can see on the screen, it's still loading. While that's doing that, you can insert your key, turn the key on, and now we have unlocked the main page. As you can see by the red light and the sound of the buzzer, you can check which warnings are being displayed. On the expert mode page, click the warning tab, and we see right here the interlock alarm and the gas alarm. Interlock alarm can be resolved by inputting your DB25 cable on the back panel, and the gas alarm can be resolved by inputting the correct gas flow, minimum 58 kPa. So as mentioned before, you will need to input proper gas flow into the system. To do so, you take your hose, you input it into the gas input, give it a quick insert, give it a little tug to make sure it's secure, and that should be good to go now. Once you turn on your gas regulator, once you open up the gas regulator, you should be getting the proper gas flow into your system. So once you have your gas regulator hooked up and your gas input into the back of the system, you can check your gas flow by navigating to the expert mode page. Click on the status tab. And right here you can see we have 317 kPa of gas pressure. So that is satisfied and you should be good to go after that. As I mentioned, for the interlock alarm, you will need to install the DB25 cable. To do so, you come into the back panel, connect the male input into the external control female input. Resolved. So we are good to go now. And now one of the last things before operation can commence, you will need to install your safety loop cable. So you take this end, insert it into the front here. And the other end will be connected to either your metal welding table. So once you have the front of the cable inputted into the front of the system, you take the clamp end and you can connect it to your metal welding table. And this is to help the system to identify that the welding head is in contact with the table or the material that is being welded. It's an additional safety feature to ensure that the laser does not fire when it is not in contact with the material. So as you will notice, when you receive the system, there will be no nozzle tip installed at the end of the weld head here. They are located in this consumable pack. Okay, we will open up the consumable pack here. We will grab a nozzle. And this is the B nozzle for wire feeding. B would be for wire welding 1.2 or 1.6 millimeter diameter wire. To install the nozzle, you simply just have to screw it on to the end of the connection pipe. And you will notice that when you fully install the nozzle for the first time, it may not be perfectly aligned. To align the nozzle, you simply have to loosen this collet here, spin the nozzle so that the groove is directly on the bottom. Once you are satisfied with the position, retighten the collet. You should be good to go. The most important maintenance point that you will be performing during your use of the MA1, if you're going to be using it on a day-to-day basis, you will want to inspect your protective window here. To do so, you simply have to loosen this nut, pull out the protective window drawer, and whenever you do this, you want to cover the drawer opening with a piece of tape here. And this is to prevent any contamination from getting into the optical cavity. Once you have that sealed. So I'm also wearing here nitrile finger sleeves. You can also wear nitrile gloves. That is to help prevent any contamination or fingerprints from your hands from getting onto the window itself. And so now you can inspect the window. An easy way and good way to do that is to hold it up to any sort of light. You're going to be looking for any sort of dust, dirt, debris, or burn spots that are on the window. If there is, you're going to want to replace it with a new window that you have received with your system. Once you have replaced the window, to get the drawer back in, you're going to want to remove the tape that you placed onto the opening. And you can now put the drawer back into place. And then retighten the screw. All right, so now that we have our MA1 set up, we can start and begin to unbox the T1 wire feeder. You will see on top you have a packing list for everything that comes included. It is best to have 2 people to remove this. So now once you have your wire feeder removed from the box, do not forget to take out the additional accessories at the bottom of the foam insert. So first we have the wire feeder conduit. This is where the wire will be fed from the wire feeder. And then you have your keys for the wire feeder as well. And then at the bottom right here we have our rollers. First thing you want to do, this is the communication cable between the wire feeder and the MA1. For connection, you're just going to want to line up the red dot on the input as well as the red dot on the plug for the wire feeder. And then you just have to pull this back and insert. And that is connected now. So once you have your wire feeders, you're going to be wanting to open up the side panel here. This is where you're going to be installing your wire spool. To do so, you remove this end cap. Remove the bracket for, if you had a smaller size spool, this is what you would want on. You can remove that depending on the size. The spool we have here, a 16-pound ER5356. Is an 0.45-inch wire. So you're going to be wanting to use 1.2 U rollers. The wire feeder comes with the 1.0 V rollers already installed, so you're going to want to remove those. And we will install our 1.2 U rollers. Once you have your spool installed, you can feed it through the drive roll mechanism. Making sure that the wire sits in the grooves. And then you can wait until the wire has exited the output for the wire feeder. And then you can clamp down your tension rods. And that is the successful completion of the wire spool. All right, so now that we have our wire fed through the output of the wire feeder here, we can now install the wire feeding conduit. With the MA1 on, we can turn on our wire feeder. Once you see the red light on the power button, that means there is power. For installing the conduit, simply insert the wire into the end of it. and push in the conduit itself until you hear the snap. So now that that is in, we can feed the wire through the conduit. So now that we have the conduit attached to the wire feeder, again, we can turn on the wire feeder. Once you see the red power button lit, that means there is power. To feed the wire through the conduit, you press and hold this button here. When you've been holding for 2+ seconds, you can let go and it'll automatically feed. And there's the wire coming out of the conduit. And then to stop it, you just gotta press the button again. Now that we have our wire fed through our conduit, we can attach our conduit to the weld head. We'll need to travel into our consumables pack here and grab our wire feeding fixture for attaching to the weld head, the tool for tightening the screw on the wire feeding fixture, and the proper wire feeding nozzle. Since we have 0.45-inch wire installed, we will be using the 1.2 millimeter wire feeding nozzle. So now that we have our wire fed through the conduit here, and we have our accessories, we can begin to assemble and slide the end opposite of the adapter over the wire, and then just push it onto the conduit until you hear the snap. Next, you'll grab your wire feeding nozzle, feed that over the wire, and screw that onto the fixture. And you'll notice that we don't have enough wire feeding out of here, so we will have to power on the MA1 again and feed a little bit more wire out. So now that we have some wire fed out, we can begin to attach to the weld head. First, you'll have to loosen the screw on the adapter. Once that's loosened up properly, you can grab your weld head and simply slide the adapter onto the connection pipe. Again, you're going to want to make sure your nozzle is properly aligned with the groove on the very bottom. Once you have that, feed the wire into the groove, and you'll want the wire to be coming out vertically or linearly in a straight line with the groove. Make sure there's not too much bend in the wire. Once it's in a good position, tighten screw. And now you are set up for wire welding. Okay, that's it. That pretty much summarizes everything up regarding setting up the system and preparing yourself to begin your first weld. I hope you enjoy and have fun while doing so. Happy welding.
Enjoy.